For years, Abby and Brittany Hensel amazed millions simply by living their lives. But recently, a new wave of online posts claimed that everything had changed. Some said they had undergone major surgery. Others claimed they had started completely new lives. The headlines spread fast, leaving people wondering what was really true. But behind the shocking stories lies a very different reality. One that is far more inspiring than most people realize. Abby and Brittany Hensel have spent their entire lives in the public eye. Ever since they were children, people have been fascinated by their rare condition. Cameras followed them through school, family life, and adulthood. Every smile, every challenge, and every milestone seemed to become a headline. Then, almost overnight, social media exploded again. Videos and posts claimed that secret surgeries had changed their lives forever. Some stories sounded so convincing that millions of people believed them without asking a simple question. Was any of it actually true? Before we uncover the real story, here's something we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever believed a viral story online, only to find out later that it wasn't true? Let us know in the comments. The truth is that the internet often moves much faster than facts. A dramatic headline can travel around the world in minutes, while the real story takes much longer to catch up. Abby and Brittany know this better than almost anyone. Throughout their lives, they have watched strangers debate their health, their future, and even their happiness, all without knowing the full picture. But this isn't just a story about rumors. It's the story of two sisters who have faced challenges most of us cannot even imagine. Instead of letting public attention define them, they focused on building a normal life filled with family, education, work, and personal dreams. What makes their journey even more remarkable is that many of the biggest moments in their lives happened quietly, away from television cameras. While the world kept searching for dramatic headlines, Abby and Brittany continued writing their own story in ways few people expected. And the recent claims about surgery? Publicly available information does not confirm that Abby and Brittany underwent any new surgery that transformed their lives. Much of what spread online appears to be speculation or misinformation rather than verified fact. Interviews, television appearances, and credible news reporting over the years paint a very different picture. So if the rumors aren't the real story, then what is? To answer that, we have to go back to the very beginning, to one of the rarest births in modern medical history. The decisions made in those first hours would shape not only Abby and Brittany's future, but also inspire millions of people around the world. Because what happened next was something almost nobody thought possible. On March 7, 1990, in Minnesota, a pair of twin girls entered the world unlike almost anyone doctors had ever seen. Abby and Brittany Hensel were born as dicephalic parapagous twins. That means they have two heads but share one body. According to medical experts and later interviews with their family, this condition is incredibly rare. Many babies born this way do not survive infancy. The moment doctors saw them, they knew the road ahead would be difficult. The girls shared many vital organs, including one body and several major internal systems. While each twin controlled one side of the body, Abby the right and Brittany the left, they would have to learn to work together every second of every day. Doctors carefully studied whether separation surgery was possible. It was a question that many families in the same situation had faced. But in Abby and Brittany's case, the risks were simply too great. Because they shared essential organs, attempting a separation would almost certainly have cost one or both of them their lives. Their parents made the heartbreaking but courageous decision not to pursue surgery, choosing instead to give their daughters the best life possible. That decision would change everything. Instead of treating the girls as a medical mystery, their parents treated them as children first. They encouraged them to laugh, play, learn, and dream just like any other kids. Their mother and father believed that while the world might see limitations, their daughters deserved the chance to discover their own possibilities. But everyday life was anything but simple. Imagine learning to crawl when each person controls only half of the body. Then imagine learning to walk, balance, ride a bicycle, swim, or even tie a shoe. Every movement required perfect teamwork. If one twin wanted to move faster than the other, they had to communicate instantly. Over the years, they developed an almost unbelievable level of coordination. What looked impossible slowly became normal. They learned how to eat together, write together, and even play musical instruments. They could drive a car by working together, each controlling different parts of the vehicle. To outsiders, it seemed almost impossible. For Abby and Brittany, it became everyday life. But mastering physical challenges was only part of the battle. As they grew older, they also had to deal with something much harder: people's reactions. Wherever they went, strangers stared. Some whispered. Others asked deeply personal questions. Cameras often appeared without warning. While curiosity was understandable, living under constant attention was exhausting. Yet the sisters refused to let those moments define them. Rather than hiding from the world, they gradually showed people something unexpected. They weren't asking for sympathy. They simply wanted to be seen as two individuals with different personalities, different interests, and different dreams. Those who met them often noticed the differences immediately. Abby was known for being more outspoken and decisive. Brittany was often described as calmer and more thoughtful. Even though they shared one body, they had separate opinions, separate tastes, and sometimes even friendly disagreements like any siblings. But just as life finally began to feel normal, another challenge appeared. Television producers heard their incredible story. Soon, millions of people around the world wanted to know more about the remarkable sisters from Minnesota. The attention that followed would change their lives forever, and bring opportunities and pressures that neither of them could have imagined. When Abby and Brittany first appeared on television, many viewers expected to see a medical story. Instead, they discovered something much more powerful. Here were two young women laughing with friends, studying for exams, arguing over small things, and making plans for the future. They weren't trying to be famous. They simply wanted to live their lives. That surprised a lot of people. Their appearances in documentaries and later the reality series Abby and Brittany gave the public a rare look into their everyday world. Cameras followed them as they finished college, searched for jobs, and prepared for adulthood. Viewers quickly realized that almost every simple task required teamwork. Getting dressed wasn't just getting dressed. Cooking wasn't just cooking. Even walking through a crowded room took quiet communication that most people never noticed. Yet Abby and Brittany rarely complained. Instead, they joked with each other, solved problems together, and kept moving forward. Their positive attitude inspired millions, not because their life was easy, but because they refused to let difficult moments stop them. But another challenge was waiting just around the corner. As graduation approached, everyone began asking the same question. Could they actually find a career? Many wondered whether employers would see their abilities or only their physical condition. The answer came sooner than anyone expected. Abby and Brittany achieved one of their biggest dreams by becoming elementary school teachers. According to interviews and public reports, they began teaching 5th grade in Minnesota. It was a career that demanded patience, energy, and excellent communication, qualities they had been developing together since childhood. Their students quickly learned something important. Instead of seeing one unusual teacher, they saw two caring people working as one team. The children asked honest questions, received honest answers, and then focused on what really mattered: learning. That simple acceptance carried a powerful message. Young children often judge people far less than adults do. Once the curiosity faded, Abby and Brittany became exactly what they wanted to be: teachers who cared deeply about helping students grow. Still, life outside the classroom wasn't always peaceful. Every few months, a new headline would appear online. Some stories praised them. Others spread wild rumors with no evidence at all. Photos were taken out of context. Old videos were reposted as if they were new. Strangers debated deeply personal parts of their lives without ever speaking to them. The sisters responded in an unexpected way. Instead of constantly defending themselves, they chose privacy. They stepped away from regular television appearances. Public interviews became rare. Their social media presence remained limited. To some people, that silence created even more curiosity. But for Abby and Brittany, it offered something far more valuable: a chance to live without explaining themselves every day. Then, something happened that caught even longtime followers by surprise. In 2024, public records and family-shared photos brought attention to a major life event that had actually taken place earlier. It became widely known that Abby had married Josh Bowling, a U.S. Army veteran. Wedding images shared by family members spread rapidly across the internet, leading to another explosion of public interest. For many people, the news raised countless questions. How does marriage work in such a unique situation? How do Abby and Brittany balance personal relationships while sharing one body? The sisters chose not to answer every question publicly. Instead, they continued doing what they had always done, protecting the parts of life they wanted to keep private. But the renewed attention had an unexpected side effect. As interest in their marriage grew, so did another wave of online speculation. Suddenly, videos claiming secret surgeries, dramatic medical changes, and hidden truths began appearing across social media. Millions clicked without realizing that many of those claims lacked credible evidence. And what happened next would become one of the biggest misinformation storms the sisters had ever faced. Before we uncover how those rumors spread and what reliable sources actually say, make sure you subscribe. We dig into the stories behind the headlines and separate verified facts from internet fiction, because sometimes the real story is far more remarkable than the rumor. By the time news of Abby's marriage reached the public, millions of people were searching for answers. Some were simply happy for the sisters. Others were curious about how they managed such an unusual life. But there was another group that saw an opportunity. Content creators began posting dramatic videos with titles like, "After the surgery, everything changed," or "The secret doctors didn't want you to know." The thumbnails looked convincing. The stories sounded emotional. Within days, millions of views poured in. There was only one problem. Most of those stories had no reliable evidence behind them. Trusted news organizations, public interviews, and the family's own public appearances did not report that Abby and Brittany had recently undergone a major life-changing surgery. In fact, the sisters had lived for decades with the same medical condition that doctors had explained since childhood. While they have naturally received medical care throughout their lives, there is no verified public record confirming the dramatic surgery described in many viral posts. But why did so many people believe it? The answer says as much about the internet as it does about Abby and Brittany. Social media rewards stories that make people stop scrolling. A shocking headline spreads faster than a careful explanation. Once one video becomes popular, dozens of others often copy the same claim without checking whether it is true. Before long, the rumor begins to look like a fact simply because so many people are repeating it. Abby and Brittany rarely stepped into those online debates. Instead, they continued living quietly in Minnesota, focusing on family, teaching, and the people closest to them. Friends and those who knew them personally described them as private individuals who valued ordinary moments far more than public attention. That choice wasn't always easy. Imagine having strangers discuss your health every single day. Imagine opening the internet and finding people who believe they know your life better than you do. For most people, that would feel overwhelming. Yet the sisters had been dealing with that kind of attention since childhood. Over time, they seemed to understand something many celebrities never do. Not every rumor deserves a response. Sometimes protecting your peace is more important than winning an argument with strangers. And perhaps that was their greatest victory. While the world searched for shocking headlines, Abby and Brittany kept building a life that wasn't designed for cameras. They celebrated family milestones. They continued their careers. They spent time with loved ones. The biggest moments often happened far away from television crews and social media trends. That contrast is remarkable. The internet wanted constant drama. They chose normal life. Their story reminds us that the loudest voices online are not always the most truthful. Sometimes the quiet reality is far more meaningful than the sensational version spreading across the internet. Many people watching right now may also know what it feels like to be misunderstood. Maybe you've been judged by your appearance, believed rumors about yourself, or felt that others only saw one part of who you are. Abby and Brittany's journey is a reminder that you don't have to let other people's opinions define your future. Your story belongs to you, not to the crowd. But even after overcoming decades of public curiosity, one important question still remains. How do Abby and Brittany want to be remembered? The answer has very little to do with medical records, television shows, or viral headlines, and everything to do with the extraordinary lives they have chosen to live.